third speaker for today in this session, and that is Professor Seo-Jeong Kim and Soo-Nim Kim, who will speak to us about a qualitative study on the changes in resource awareness and sense of community among upper elementary students through systems thinking-based fishery game. So this will be interesting. Please start your presentation.
Right, thank you. So can you see that slide? And you can hear me, right? Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me. My name is Chun-Nim Kim, a teacher at Myeongdang Elementary School in South Korea. And this presentation is collaborated with Professor Song-Chun Kim at Korea National University of Education. Today I'll share how our system thinking-based fishery game helped the upper elementary students develop resource awareness and a community-minded mindset. Before starting the presentation, I would like to premise that system thinking and STEAM education share a very similar philosophy. Okay. Why this study matter? Background and rationale. While climate crisis and resource issues have been widely taught, instruction often stays at the event level fact without structures. Students rarely work with feedback and delays, so behavior doesn't change. Its rationale is to use a system thinking fishery game that makes those structures visible, helping learners move from linear to circular reasoning and from competition to cooperation. On the right side, you can see iceberg model. It's not just decoration, it frames the entire study. Above the water line, we can see events, but below the surface are patterns, structures, and mental models at the bottom. The teaching aim was to guide students beneath the surface to help them see how structures produce outcomes. Research purpose. This study asked two questions. How do upper elementary students perceive resource depletion and conservation when they experience the fishery game? Second, how do they experience and interpret conflict, cooperation, and responsibility in a community during and after the game? The goal is to turn Hardin's The Treasury of the Commons into Ostrom's Comedy of the Commons to show that when people cooperate and self-govern, the commons can flourish instead of collapse. This study is grounded in system thinking as its theoretical framework. Here I highlight three core principles: interconnectedness, feedback, wholeness. I invited students to move from linear cause and effect, the idea that if I catch more fish, I do better, to circular reasoning, where today's catch affects tomorrow's stock, which feeds back into everyone's future options. On the left, you can see linear thinking. A is cause, B is effect, result. And on the right, you can see circular system thinking. This simple contrast became a powerful teaching anchor. During debriefs, I could ask, what feedback loops did you notice? Which structures made cooperation easier or harder? Now, I'm going to explain how to play fishery game. First one, students are divided into 6 countries. That means 6 teams, such as USA, China, Norway, Vietnam, Tuvalu, and the EU. Each country represents a fishing nation sharing one common ocean filled with fish. Second, starting resources, the ocean begins with from 25 to 50 fish. I use fish miniature made by plastic. Each round, the remaining fish double in number, but they can never exceed 50 fish in total. This represents the non-linearity of the system. There are 2 goals. First goal is that each country tries to catch as many fish as possible. Second goal is that keep fish resources sustainable for the future. Students should remember these two goals while playing the game. Rules. Each country secretly decides how many fish to catch per round and writes it down. Students can catch between 0 to 8 fish. If the remaining number of fish is smaller than the amount requested, they can't catch any at all. After each round, if fish reproduce, that means double, and the next round begins. The order is decided by drawing lots each round. Anyone can suggest an international meeting to discuss cooperation, but it's not mandatory. Typical flow, round 1, most teams focus on catching more fish. Therefore, the fish population collapses. That means extinction. Round 2, students realize the importance of cooperation, so they discuss limits and make agreements. Round 3 and more, they try to follow agreements and maintain sustainability. You see the before you can see those three pictures. You see the simulation tools at left side, country placards in the middle, and a model international meeting scene for a negotiation. Those tools not only engage the students in the lesson, but also help them embody roles and practice diplomatic dialogue. Research method. I worked with 120 students in grades 4 to 6. Each class session lasted 80 minutes. The data included 120 student reflection notes, 12 student interviews, and 4 observer teacher interviews. I conducted qualitative coding, open coding, axial coding, and selective coding, looking for patterns in language, shifts in reasoning, and social dynamics. So, key finding 1, change in resource awareness. At the beginning of the game, many students focused on maximizing their own catch, as you might expect, but over time, their language and decisions began to reflect feedback and time delay too. I saw comments like, I worried the fish might disappear next year, and I decided to catch less this time. These are not just slogans, they reflect an internalized mental model. If we overharvest now, the system pushes back later. Please look at word cloud 1 from 120 reflection notes. Larger words convey more frequent themes. You will notice terms around cooperation, negotiation, sustainability, and resources. These words indicate the structural understanding. Students connected today's actions with tomorrow's constraints. Now, key finding 2, emergence of a cooperative mindset. The second finding is social. I watched classrooms move from competitive, self-centered strategies to joint decision-making. Students began to call international meetings, negotiate, and express empathy. We should keep our promise. If we take too much, others lose. On a word cloud 2, built from 12 students' interviews, you will see the narrative widen, promise, conference, extension, consider, and sharing. This lexical shift reflects a mindset shift from how do I win to how do we sustain the system so all of us can keep playing. Key finding 3, from observer teacher interviews, several themes students learn through failure at the limits of a shared resource. The felt experience of depletion generated an urgency that lectures rarely achieve. The class climate shifted from competition to cooperation as rounds progressed. A typically quiet student became fully engaged, suggesting the embodied game-based learning can widen participation. Teachers noticed the elements of moral development, students reasoning about fairness, promises, and the common good. Finally, several teachers said the fishery game functioned as a community building device. The activity was not just about fish, it was about us. Discussion. From player to part of the system, students started to see themselves not as isolated actors, but as citizens in a living system. They experienced feedback loops in both ecological and social dimensions. Fish populations responding to harvest and peers responding to norms and promises. I use the term systems citizens to describe learners who understand that the self that the self, resources, and society are part of one interconnected system and who act with that awareness. Conclusion. To summarize, the fishery game fostered the structuring thinking. Students began to consider feedback and time delays, not just quick rewards. They learned that human actions alter ecological balance and that the system talks back. I observed growth in solidarity and cooperation, which are essential for sustainable communities. Most importantly, system thinking provided a bridge between environmental education and citizenship education. It connected science of systems with the ethics of living together. Educational implications. So what can schools do? Integrate system thinking across the curriculum. Do not confine it only to science. Social studies, ethics, mathematics, language arts, all can host system stories, stock and flow metaphors, and feedback narratives. Protect time for debrief. The learning peak arrived after the game in structured reflection. I recommend planning explicit time for students to map loops, surface delays, and name the norms that support the commons. Support teacher learning communities. Teachers need spaces to exchange protocols, compare archetypes, for example, treasury of the commons or fixes that fail, and refine facilitation moves that shift classes from competition to collaboration. Closing. I'd like to finish with this quote. System citizens have empathy, respect others, and work to make a better place for everyone. Chris Soderquist from Modern Mysteries. Whether we are teaching 9-year-olds or training others, the destination is similar. People who can perceive structures, anticipate feedback, care about others, and cooperate to sustain the commons. Thank you for listening. I'm happy to take questions about facilitation steps, coding procedures, or how to adapt this activity for different age groups and contexts. You can check my email address. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good presentation. Can I just ask, is this a game that is often used, or have you made up the game yourself? The fisheries game?
You mean I made this myself?
Yeah.
No, actually, these similar games are very open for everyone, every teachers. We can download from CLE Exchange's site, which is really quite famous. I mean, System Dynamic Society or K-12 System Thinking Education. Yeah.
It looked like a very good comprehensive game for the children.
Thank
Any
you.
other question from the other people in the room? No more questions just now.